Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Lee Whittaker here at the Ashbury Golf Resort, and today we're doing another review, and we're reviewing a new T-Series iron because we've done the T100 and the T100S. Well, now it's time for the T200. Yep, that's right. The T200 has been released at the same time as the T100 and the T100S, and obviously there's a T300 as well. So in this review, I'm going to go out onto the golf course. I'm going to hit some shots with it. I'm also going to come back in here, hit some shots on quad, get some data, and then talk about the tech of it. But the first thing I need to talk about is the difference between last year's and this year's. So as you can see, there's a stark difference between the two. So comment down below, which one do you think looks the best? I think personally for me, I prefer the look of the old T200. Obviously this has got this part at the back, and this is Titleist's answer to the P790 basically. And that just feels like a bit of plastic that they've just put in the way, and I can't quite understand why that is, whereas this felt more, I don't know, solid, made better. Looking at the soles as well, the new one is slightly thicker, or appears to be slightly thicker than the old one. But otherwise, there's not really a lot to choose from between the two of them. So actually, there's a big difference between the looks, certainly, of the two. We'll get into what the tech is, but let's get out onto the golf course, let's hit some shots, and let's see what this sound and feels like out there. Okay, so I've come out onto one of the holes on our academy course because the actual main courses are just completely packed at the moment. And this is like a 270 yard par 4. It doesn't really get used. If anything, I use them more than anyone else. But it's a great place for me to test this club out because there's no one in the way. So I've got the balls with me. I'm going to hit some shots off this tee with this 7-iron. I'm just going to see what it sounds and feels like from an outdoor point of view. I've obviously tested it indoors, and we'll go back indoors and look at the data in a minute. But I'm going to test it outdoors and see what it looks, sounds and feels like out here. Down at the ball, it definitely is, it has got like a small head look about it. So it's not like, it doesn't feel large and chunky. So it definitely sits right between the T100 and the T300, which is a little bit fatter and bigger. I've got a wide open space here. If I lose a ball here, I'll be much disappointed. So yeah, down at the ball, looks great. Does look like a player's iron. Doesn't look too fat. The top line, again, is one of those sort of like placebo looks where it's got like a satin finish and then it chromes and blends off to make it look a little bit thinner than it actually is. So actually it's thicker than it looks. See what it sounds and feels like. Okay, so just left that out to the right a little bit. But it sounded okay. Sounds a lot better out here than it did indoors, that's for sure. It just sounds like a really nice forged iron out here. When I was indoors, and we'll go back and look at that data, it definitely sounded clicky. A lot clickier than the old iron, and definitely not something I enjoyed hitting indoors. But outdoors it feels absolutely fine. So it's got really good peak height. Seems to have gone a similar place as the other one. So although it's 31 degrees of loft, it's got absolutely no problem getting the ball up in the air, which is something that always worries me a little bit with these stronger lofted clubs. But this has absolutely no problem with that. The peak height is superb, so that to me means it's going to come in with a lovely descent angle, and is what you kind of want from a 7-iron because it is a scoring club. Sounds superb. That wind is just a bit left to right up there. Again, exactly the same place as the other one, hitting it straight down the middle, and then the wind is sort of feeding it off to the right hand side. Let's hit one more from here and then have a look where they finished. But I think they're all going to be pretty much on top of each other. They just look like absolutely identical shots. It definitely has that forged iron feel about it for 100%. I'm really not sure about this plastic bit on the back, but does it actually offend me? I don't see it when I look down. I just see it when I look at it that way, but how often do I look at a club that way? Let's have one more. That's a better shot. Nice and straight down the fairway. That's definitely come up a little bit shorter, but felt like a decent strike. Right, let's go down and see where they finished. Okay, so as I come down to the fairway, then here's the first one. Sorry, the first ball I come to, which is the last shot I had. And actually, if I think about it and look back at those strikes, then the first three were quite clean off the tee. The last one I hit a little bit on the heavy side compared to those three, so that is an expected drop-off, but it's actually quite a big drop-off. It's about 10 yards, but if I come up to the first three shots, then as you can see there's one there, the red one is here, and then the yellow and blue one is over there, and there's probably about 5 yards between that ball and that ball, and then the blue one smack bang in the middle. And when you take into account bounce and roll, it's not too bad. It's not as tight as I've seen other clubs, but they've come in, it is on a down slope, they've landed at different places, so you have to take that into account. But these three shots, all in all, are pretty consistent. Okay, so I've come back about 160 yards away from the green that's up there. There's no flag on it, so I've actually got no idea where it is. I've got a rough idea where it is. So before I play this shot, we're going to go back into the studio, we're going to talk about the tech, and we're going to see what the data says, the dry ball data says about the T200 iron. Okay, let's look at the data then for the T200 irons. Now bearing in mind these are 31 degrees of loft, so it's 2 degrees stronger than my current 7 iron that I play, which I average about 173 yards with. So ball speed 121, it's there or thereabouts for what I'm used to for a 7 iron. Launch angle 17.2, that's the surprising bit. It's a little bit higher than I probably expected it to be. I expected it to be around 15, 16, so 17.2 is quite good. Quite a tight standard deviation too, so that's up at 19. I'll come back to that in a minute. Average spin 5.4 with a deviation of 400. So that's into the high fives, into the low fives. It's probably where I'd expect it to be. And then average carry 174, deviation 4. Now that doesn't tell the whole story, because the standard deviation would be a lot tighter. I found these to be pretty consistent irons over the 10 shots that I took. But I had 2 shots that launched higher, span a little bit lower, and then went over 180 yards. One went 181, the other went 180. So they were like, they're the anomalies in there. The rest were all around like the 172 mark, between 170 and 172, and then these 2 just sort of popped out of nowhere and went a little bit further, and that would be the only thing that would worry me. But I suppose that could happen with any iron. It's all down to sort of strike basically. But it would worry me that they've gone 10 yards further than the others have, with pretty decent spin. When I say they've come out at low spin, it was still in the 5,000, so it's pretty decent spin. Where as far as spin goes, they just popped out of nowhere, launched at like 19, 20 degrees with 5,000 spin, and just the ball speed was like 2 miles an hour up, and it just carried 10 yards further. So that's the only thing that would worry me. But all in all, pretty decent numbers. A little bit down where I'd expect it to have been, but actually pretty consistent, and a pretty decent peak height as well. That's a pretty good peak height when it comes to me for a 7 iron. So the technology is doing what it should be doing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the technology of the T200 irons and what Titleist are saying about them. So they're saying the T200 irons are the Tour's distance iron. At 31 degrees of loft, that would be what I would expect them to say. It's at that P790 level, so it's their Tour, you know, it's their player's distance iron basically. Benefits from improved sound and feel. I'll come back to that on the course, I think. Preferred player preferred shape. The shape looks superb. Down at the ball, it does look fantastic, so I can't sort of knock that. Precision distance control. Well, we've looked at the numbers, and I did get a couple of flyers. Yes, it's strike dependent, but like 10 yards further, just out of nowhere, was a little bit of a shock. D18 density tungsten in the head. So that's a more denser, heavier tungsten, which means they can maneuver the COG a little bit. New max impact technology, multi-material body with an engineered muscle plate and forged face inserts. So there's a lot of technology gone into the T200 this year, like you would expect from Titleist. So that's what Titleist are saying. Let's get back out on the course and see if that's actually what I'm feeling. Okay, welcome back. So average carry 175. So actually from here, I'm probably a little bit too close. So now I'm going to see how it feels when I try and hit a controlled 167 iron shot, and see how good I am at doing it, really. That's just up the left hand side. Did bounce, which was nice. Not the greatest strike. Definitely a downfall of my game is controlling distance. I am a all or nothing type of guy when it comes to irons. That's a better strike. Definitely online, saw it bouncing. It does feel good, I'll give it that. It doesn't sound as bad outdoors as it does indoors. Indoor, I couldn't stand it. It just was so clicky, but I just don't hear that out here. Definitely don't hear that out here. Right, let's go then. Yeah, really easy to hit off the turf. Great turf interaction. There's not a lot not to like about this at the moment. So as we come up to the green is there, so I've missed this one pretty left. But if we're looking at a line, all the balls are exactly the same distance, which is what I like. Just one was left and the other two here, the blue and yellow one, and then the red and yellow one are just a little bit short of the green, which, to be honest, considering I was guesstimating the distance, I'm not too displeased with. So off the turf ball, the club feels great. Definitely feels nice and soft, feels nice and it just feels like a forged iron. But I'm going to go back to the tee now and see how we can shot shape with this club and see if it's possible and how easy it is to do with it. Right, okay, so let's see if we can hit a low draw with it. Then we'll try a high draw and then we'll try and move to fade. So how easy is it to hit a low draw with this club? Well, that worked. Interesting, it's nice and low. Okay, I mean, I don't know if the shot tracer would have picked that up, how low it was, but I'll try my best. But it certainly stayed low and it definitely had a little bit of curl to it, and it's actually just gone down the middle of the fairway. Now let's try a high fade, a high draw even. See if we can start it out right and bring it into the centre of the fairway. Oh, really nice shot. Actually started it in the centre and moved it to the left side of the fairway, but the high draw was definitely there. Not quite sure I've got the ability to pull off a low fade, but we'll give it a go. Aim up the left and try and fade it in. Oh no, that's a high fade. It's a really good shot though. But it definitely wasn't a low fade. Right, let's have another go at that. However, I feel I've just found a new shot in my arsenal, which is nice. Right, let's go. Let's try a low fade. How do you even play a low fade? Over the top. Oh, right. Up the left-hand side. I literally no idea. Something to learn here. No, that's just another high fade into the centre of the fairway. What I will say is it's a really good shot. What it isn't is what I'm trying to do. Right, let's try a stinger then. Yeah, that's much lower. Yeah, I can definitely control the ball flight with this club, 100%. Just can't do a low fade. It's really, really difficult to pick holes in this, and I'm comparing it with the P790. Indoors, the P790 wins because it sounds superb, but outdoors, I can't split them. I literally cannot split them. They both look fantastic down at the ball. They both sound fantastic and feel fantastic. It's really difficult because you do these reviews and you're always like, oh, it's a great club, it feels great, sounds great. But nowadays, all clubs do. It's very rare that you get a club that doesn't perform anymore. This is definitely a golf club I could go into and use. The indoor data fits where I'm looking at when it comes to gapping. It actually goes a lot higher than I expected it to, and it spins okay for 31 degrees. Between 5.5 and 6 is actually pretty good for a 31 degree 7 iron. It's just performing really well. So in conclusion then, there's no reason whatsoever why the T200 shouldn't be as popular as the P790 this year. At the pet tests of them both, it's difficult. It's really, really difficult because they both performed exceptionally well. And there's only half a degree of loft in them. It literally would be down to your fitting how you perceive the feel and sound to be, and actually where you do your fitting. If you did your fitting solely indoors, I think the P790 would win because it does sound a lot better. But I think if you did it outdoors, you're just not going to be able to choose between the two. They are a fantastic set of irons, and the T200 should easily sell as well as the P790 this year. For me, indoors, I had a couple of flyers. Completely could be strike dependent, but it does worry me that it is 10 yards further than the average of, or the you know, where I was hitting the ball on a normal shot. It does worry me that that one can come out of it. Outdoors, I saw quite a consistency between the two, although when I hit one quite heavy, there's that drop off, which I would expect. And actually shot shaping is pretty easy to do unless you're trying to do a low stinging fade, which I still have no idea how to do it. Off the turf, feels great. Off the tee, it feels and sounds great. It's just, I can't pick a fault in it. The only thing I would pick a fault in is that back of that club. It just feels like a cheap plastic. It doesn't feel Titleist to me. Titleist always feels and comes across as like the premium when it comes to golf equipment. And that bit of plastic at the back just seems like not premium. It's the only way I can describe it. I don't know if it's got any reason to be there. I just feel last year's T200 looks a lot better than this year's T200. But actually on performance, after using the two and playing with the two, I can't see much of a difference. But I will do an old versus new test once I've finished these tests and done the T300. I'll put them old ones up against the new ones and see if they feel or sound or perform any better. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that review, and if you have, please do give this video a thumbs up by clicking the little thumbs up icon down below. And also, if you are new to the channel or aren't yet subscribed, please do subscribe to this channel. We are closing on 10,000 subscribers. It'd be awesome to hit that by the end of the year. And at the filming of this, we have just passed 1 million views on the channel as well, which is absolutely superb. So thanks very much to all those people who have watched and are continuing to watch this channel. It means the world to me. But I'm going to leave this video there, and I'll see you all on the next one.